right, welcome back to RFK Refugees. Just John. Ted has gone somewhere else. I think maybe he's refereeing a game or something. I don't know. He just goes away sometimes. I want to welcome Ashley Hatch of Washington Spirit, who is joining us here on the pod. Ashley, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we just talked to Andy last week, and I think that the most reasonable question to ask after a 2020 season that was insane and weird and exciting in some spots, but also just crazy. Talk about your experiences in the Challenge Cup and the fall series. I know that you guys were down there in Florida before everything kicked off. You had sort of things were gonna felt like normal, and then all of a sudden they weren't at all. So run us through your 2020. It's very eventful.
Yeah, 2020 was crazy. It's kind of funny to be back here in Florida and think that it was a year ago that we had one training session in Florida and then we got kind of shut down. So it's exciting to be here and actually be able to like train and actually have a proper preseason. But yeah, 2020 was crazy. There was a lot of unknowns, and we all had to be super flexible and just kind of grind it out where we could. Once we all got the news of the Challenge Cup, we were super excited to actually have games in sight because for a while we were kind of training and prepping for the unknown, which is really hard. But I think, I mean, at the Spirit, and I'm sure all the other teams in the league did such a good job of staying focused for whatever was coming up next. But yeah, then we had the Challenge Cup, which was super unique, and it was really cool to be one of the first sports teams back and to kind of like pave the way for other teams to come back during the pandemic. And yeah, the NWSL did a great job of hosting a tournament. It definitely wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it because we got to play together on the field, and playing without fans is definitely weird. But now I feel like we're kind of used to it. So I think it'll be fun once we start getting fans in again. I think we'll have to get used to that again, but I think it'll be really exciting.
Yeah, Andy brought up her thoughts on the Challenge Cup. She immediately, I think, regretted being sort of brutally honest about the Challenge Cup. Sort of just like what we were talking about though. So like the last year was unique, was a unique circumstance. Like it had to be something kind of weird. It had to be in a bubble. It had to be all on one site. It came off extremely well from a TV perspective, from a performance on I think I told her like the first couple of games looked a little rough because obviously it was basically preseason. But then by the times, but late in the group stage and in the knockout stage, it was like, prime regular NWSL soccer. So I think it'll be hard to recapture that. You're not in the same site anymore. All the games aren't being played in Rio Tinto. You don't have there won't be a slide in the I want to be behind one of the corner flags, or maybe there will. I don't know if they're gonna. Maybe they'll put them there in the two spots. But what are your expectations for this year? Like this is a different experience. There's going to be, I think, a little bit more how it'll go, and then that you got a full season behind this instead of just who knows when we'll play again. Maybe we'll play in the fall. Maybe we won't. You'll know you got a full season after this.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just gonna apply the skills that I learned from the Challenge Cup and just be prepared for anything because this Challenge Cup, you're right, isn't going to be the exact same. We're all not going to be in the same area. We're not going to be playing every single our different teams. We're going to be playing our conference. We're going to be traveling. We're going to have some home games, some away games. So I think it will definitely feel a lot more like the fall series. The fall series, towards the end of our season, started feeling a bit normal because we had more of a scheduled routine and rhythm with practice throughout the week, game at the end of the week. And then, some of those games are away. So like traveling, leaving midweek, having a game, coming back, prepping for the next one. So I'm hoping it'll feel a bit more like that, a little bit normal, but it just kind of has the Challenge Cup tag to it. Cause I think that the fans really enjoyed that, and which we're super happy about. And I think it'll be fun to have the aspect of East Coast West Coast conference and then that championship at the end. I think will be really exciting.
Yeah, and I think too you're starting before the other U.S. leagues, so that you've got the same sort of advantage that you did last time. You guys were the only sports game in town for that entire month, for most of that month, and it was awesome. I think it was cool to have the spotlight on you guys in that way. And then also, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, it was very annoying in the after effects for them to be like, yeah, the NBA did a great job. They were the first ones to do a bubble and no one else did it. And that's great for the NBA. So those who know that was not the case,
Yes.
and you guys went to it first. It seemed like Richie in his interviews sort of at the beginning of this was seeing the Challenge Cup as sort of an extension of preseason. Like he's like, we're not gonna run the same lineup every game. We've got to get people sort of set. We got to look at these young players and see how they fit in our system, et cetera. Is that sort of the vibe you get from in the preseason, that's going to be, it's a slower build up. It's not a build up to game one of the Challenge Cup. It's a build up to the season and into the, the trophy at the end of it.
Yeah, you definitely have to have like a long-term plan because we have such a long season and this weird
and a long preseason. You have a really long preseason
too. Definitely, yeah. So I think you definitely have to have a long-term plan, but I know Richie wants to win the Challenge Cup. He might not say it, but I know he does. But I think we can do both. I think we can still, explore different players, different formations or whatever it is, integrate those players, with veterans and still put on a good performance and compete for the Challenge Cup. Because I know I'm going out there to win, and I know everyone else on the team is going to as well, but I think we're going to definitely, work out a lot of kinks along the way. And I think that's going to be the same for a lot of the NWSL teams, just like the Challenge Cup was. A lot of them haven't. The only fulfilled experience they had was playing against themselves. And I know for us, we got tired of scrimmaging ourselves, and we were just really ready to scrimmage someone else. So
yeah, I can understand. Speaking of that, so I assume congrats on your hat trick on your first game and however many long. I understand. I know the competition or whatever, but it's still you want to score goals. 3 goals is a great thing to do. Your competition's limited by COVID restrictions, right? They have to do what you guys do for 2 weeks ahead of time before they play. Have I heard that right?
Yeah. I'm sure that it's 2 weeks. I know that they have to get, I think, 2 negative tests, something like that. But yeah, it's pretty limited. And it's also hard because the college season is going on right now, and normally that's not happening. So we're kind of also limited in that area. But it is nice, no matter what the level is, just to get those games in. And Palm Beach Atlantic, they were a D2 team, but they were still decent enough for us to get out there and get a feel of a real game. We were able to put our kit on, and it had a fun feel to it, and it was just exciting. And I think, especially for our rookies, I think it's a good game to get them integrated and not so much pressure.
Yeah. For a goal scorer, right? You just need to see the ball go in the back of the net. It doesn't really matter who it's against, as long as it's not against your own team and it's against another team. It's good stuff. Exactly. Speaking of, you talking about the veterans coming into the season. This is your 4th season. This will be your 4th season with the Spear. Is that correct? Or 3rd or 4th? 4th, I think, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel your role in the team evolving? There's been so much change. There's been a lot of turnover. I think I don't want to speculate. Obviously, Tori is the OG, but it's been a real big roster turnover. How do you feel like it's? Do you feel different in the locker room? Do you feel like you have a different role to fill for the young players and the other? You're still a young player, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. I think my role has definitely evolved to being more of that veteran leader, especially for the young players coming in, and just helping them in whatever way I can, whether that's talking to them before, after training, during training. Also doing my best to just lead by example. We actually had a meeting last night with our strength and conditioning coach, and he just kind of went over how he said something like, what got you here isn't what's going to keep you here. And I think that's so true, because there's just so many other aspects of the game when you're a pro that you have to stay on top of if you want to stay here. And I think, I learned from a lot of the veterans before me on other teams I was on, but also, Tori Huster is a great example of someone who knows how to stay here and how to take care of her body and also perform at the highest level. And so that's something that, I want to return to those younger players, is to help them, because I think it's really important. I think we have a lot of talent coming in, and we definitely want them to stay here for long term. So just helping them in whatever way I can.
You make a good point. I bet it's hard to tell an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old about recovery, because they're probably stretching's for old people. I don't do that. I just go play. So I think that's a good point. I didn't think about that. The Spirit have added a lot of good midfield options all over the field. Lots of really great acquisitions in the offseason. losing Rose hurts, but it appears that the style of play that Richie wants to play, based on the players he's bringing in, but also on the interviews, seems like you should have a lot of service coming up this year. It seems like you're in a position to have a really good season, a really productive season. Are you excited? I mean, obviously you're excited for a new season, but it feels like it's as a forward, you want to make sure that you're getting as many opportunities as possible to finish. It feels like that's going to happen more and more this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with you. I think that's definitely something that our team can work on. And I think that's something at the end of the past seasons that I've kind of come to Richie and like, hey, I want to be able to put myself in better positions to score more goals, to be in the box and create more chances for our team. And I think we definitely have the midfield core to do it. And I think we have a lot more attacking minded midfielders as well. So I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited. We're finally like out on the pitch playing together full field, and it's exciting to see all the possibilities of getting forward and getting into the attack. So I'm excited.
I read an interesting interview with you from, I think, Just Women's Sports. I think it was this year or last year, and it was sort of talking about they asked a question about your style of play and the fact that you were previously a 10, a creative player, and then now you're where you are, right? You're 9, you're a goal scorer, and how you kind of get not necessarily torn between those two things, but coaches want to see one skill set out of you, and some things just come naturally. Like I know I saw a lot of times in the Challenge Cup that I would see you dribble in the box. I would see you take the ball and move out wide and have somebody else hopefully come in and fill that near post to the far post run. What's that? Do you feel like that's still an advantage to you? Do you feel like that sort of well-rounded background helps you, or do you feel like if however you're expected, if you're expected to score goals, if you're expected to stack up goals, and that's how you're being evaluated, do you feel like that's an advantage or disadvantage for you?
I definitely say it's an advantage. I feel like maybe a couple of years ago when I was a little bit less experienced, I would get nervous about having to switch those roles of, playing a high, stagnant 9 or playing, a very mobile 9 that can come underneath or get wide. I would get kind of nervous, like having to switch those roles on the fly, whether it was dependent on the team we were playing or the formation we were playing, or if it was like going from like a U23 camp or full team camp and coming back into my club environment. Sometimes I'd get nervous about that. But now as I've, been able to experience all those different roles, I kind of see it more of as an advantage because I feel like I'm able to use all of those strategies and kind of switch them depending on who we're playing or what role I need to play for the team that day. So I definitely say it's an advantage for sure.
And Richie knows your style of play, and he knows what to expect from you. And he knows, I think that's the familiarity's got to help too, as far as like what's expected of me, and what are, at the end of the year, what are you most looking from me from? If the offense is clicking and scoring, and I have, some more assists than, it's even on goals and assists, that's good because we're scoring. It's all that matters.
Exactly.
So I asked this question to Andy also. It feels like the league's evolving a little bit as far as the balance of power. There are players being loaned out to Europe. They're going to stay. They're not going to stay. Who knows? But even within the league, there's lots of player movement. And I feel like the teams that you would have looked at to begin the year 2 years ago or last year are not guaranteed. They don't feel as guaranteed, right? It doesn't feel like it's like, all right, well, who's going to play North Carolina in the final? Like, who's that going to be? It still could be the case. I definitely don't want to shovel dirt on them yet. I think that would be stupid. But it does feel like there's a lot more opportunity for teams to have a good season and make it to that final round and have a different champion. How does that feel as a team? I think the Spirit had a really good Challenge Cup. I think you guys were cresting right into it. Andy got hurt. Rose had to play 20 minutes or something for a national team game that didn't come, which I don't think I'm going to get over the fact that that's her last game in the kit, but that's my problem. But the fall series felt kind of weird. It felt sort of like I felt like some friendlies at the end of the year, which is good because I think more games are better. But how do you feel coming into camp this year? The league is open to win. You guys are one of the teams that I think people are going to be looking at to build on last year's performance, and with the players you've added. How are you feeling? You feel confident?
Yeah, definitely. I'm confident. I'm excited. And I mean, I definitely think we're a team to look out for. So I'm excited.
That's a better position to be in, I think, 2018 was rough. 2019 was building. I feel like
Yeah.
it's probably more fun to be the big dog and have people trying to bring you down versus like, being surprised when you win. I think it's probably more fun to be like, yeah, we're supposed to win. We won and we're supposed to win.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So I would say there's been, speaking of the changes from 2018, 2019 to now, big changes to the club, ownership, obviously, from investment, sponsorship, and now I think the approximate number is 350 ownership group for the Spirit, something like that, 7,000 people. How is that being felt as a player inside the club? Like, what is that on a day-to-day basis from the first year you got here to now? What's the change?
There's been huge changes and it's been fun to be a part of it. I think back in 2018 or whatever year it was when I first was on this team, I mean, Andy was here with me. That was her rookie season. We often reflect back on that year and we have laughs about it now, but during the time it was so hard to be in that position where we weren't winning like we wanted to, but we had the talent and we just were struggling. And to now look at where we are now, having all this amazing support from our ownership group. And we had a really nice dinner with Michelle King, one of our new majority owners here, and she's taking really good care of us here. And just the excitement that, the owners bring to our sport and our team, it's just really raised that standard for us as players on the field and just among each other. And to feel that support from them, it's so important. And it was something that was definitely missing a couple years ago. I think we definitely had support, but the amount of support has just tripled. And so it's definitely raised our expectations and our standards. And it's really cool to see new players coming into this environment where it's at and to see their eyebrows kind of raised like, oh, wow, like these guys are serious, like their ownership group is serious. And it's just like, yeah, like welcome to the Spirit. Like we're a big deal and we're going to continue to be a big deal.
Tori's in the corner like, I've seen some things. You don't know what it used to be like. You kids today with your Xboxes and whatnot. Yeah, I would imagine that big changes for sure. Yeah. So that's great progress. I told Andy that I think I recommend this to you is just go down that list and just add all those people on your LinkedIn. Like, I feel like this is a prime opportunity for some business opportunities down the line or even, during your career. I would do that. I would do that in a minute.
Yeah.
I might do it now. I just might do it anyway.
I mean, I've done the ownership from last year. So I need to do all the new,
big long list, hit them all. Like, hey, listen, yeah. we're close. We're coworkers. We should, you know me from the Spirit.
Yeah.
So I want to talk. You got a call up to US camp recently. Didn't dress, but you got the opportunity to go through the. Was it January? What was it? January? I don't know what time is anymore. What month was it?
I went to the October and November camp.
Got it. So you've had your caps. You've been called in a couple times. I read in the same interview your first call up wasn't until U23s.
Yes.
This is sort of diversion. I'm actually getting to this question first rather than this most recent call up because I'm interested by it. Did you feel like was it a miss? Was it an overlook that it was the U23s, or did your game start hitting the peak when they noticed you? Did you feel like there was identification that didn't happen, or you just feel like they saw me at the right time? I got called in at the right time when I was really clicking.
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, my youth career looked a little bit different than probably most girls who are in the youth national teams at such a young age. I, bounced from club to club because my family moved a lot. I didn't do ODP. I, didn't play soccer on Sundays, so I missed a lot of like championship games. So I think there was definitely like missed opportunity from that, but I think it all worked out for the best because I think when I did get that call up, I was just really playing well in college, really enjoying, the level that I was at. And it kind of just came as like a pleasant surprise, just getting that chance and that opportunity. I would say that first camp, the U23s camp, was really hard because I'd never been in that environment before. But it was a really neat experience, and it also kind of made me more hungry to get that again and to continue to move up and eventually hopefully get that full team call up.
I can't imagine coming in at that age and having everybody else that had been in that camp probably have been in there since 12, 13, they know what this is all about. I cannot imagine how the culture shock. What was more of a culture shock, that or your first day as a pro in North Carolina?
I mean, I would say that probably because I had never been in that environment. I had no idea how, it was supposed to look. And also it was kind of hard because all those girls that I was with, like I remember Rose being there. She was unfortunately hurt, so she didn't get to play. But like I remember, I mean, Sonnet was there. I don't think Andy was there, but like all these girls, I remember they just all knew each other and they were all just like best friends because they had been,
Right.
going to World Cups together, traveling,
Who's
different
this new
tournaments.
girl? Who's this new girl? Where'd
Yeah,
she
and
come
everyone
from?
just kind of like, who are you? And I was just like, hi, I'm Ashley. Like, yeah, I play with you. So like I was super nervous, but I mean, North Carolina, I feel like I had that first full team camp my senior year, and that really kind of, I wouldn't say prepped me for that, but helped me because I was able to have a lot of really solid conversations with girls playing in the league. I took advantage of that opportunity and asked them anything and everything about playing in the NWSL, like all the ups, all the downs, the positives, negatives, like blah 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 blah, like all the rules. Some people don't even know the rules. Like so I don't even know all the rules yet either. But so I feel like I had a little bit, you know, better information going into that first day of preseason in North Carolina. But it was still a shock, because I was playing with, I don't know, I remember calling my dad after the first day of practice. I was like, holy crap, dad, these girls are good. Like, I remember playing with Dabinia and I was like, this girl, like, where'd she come from? Like, people play soccer like that? Like, it was just, I don't know, it was really cool. And it definitely pushed me to raise my level so I could continue to hang in that environment.
I got to imagine that first day. You hear all the stories about rookies' first day in camp, and I hear it in MLS, I hear it in NWSL, I hear it in every league. Really, it's like the speed at which the game moves catches you by surprise. But I would imagine too, like I keep thinking about that US call up. I keep thinking about how I would feel, not necessarily knowing, like, all right, I've got the call up, so they see value in me. I play where I play now. I've heard of some of these people. I know their games. And like, how does my game translate immediately? And then the first time you're out there in practice, like, all right, well, I guess I get to see. I guess I'll get to see how this first scrimmage goes and how I go through drills. And if I look like I don't belong, then I'll know right away. But I imagine if you feel like you belong right away, that's got to be an instant jolt of confidence. Otherwise, maybe you want to go home.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So talk about the fall camps this year. Was that Vlatko's first camp? First fall camp?
No, he had a couple before, couple games and stuff before, but it was one of my first experiences with him.
What was it like? What was obviously there was, I think it ended with 2 friendlies in Europe, right? Is that where that camp ended?
Yeah, so the November camp we played one game against the Netherlands. I unfortunately didn't dress for it, but it was still a great opportunity to be, among the team and to continue to learn during practice, in team meetings, in film, in private, individual meetings and all that kind of stuff. So it's always a great environment to be in. And it definitely, like for me, sets my personal standards for myself super high, especially coming back into the spirit. And one of my main goals is to keep that, that level of training, that intensity for myself at that level, so that whenever the time comes for me to go back into camp, I'm not, trying to make up for lost time or trying to, make a jump. I'm already going to be there. So
right.
Anytime I can be in that environment, it's good.
Have the coaches communicated to you what they're looking for out of your play, as far as, for future call-ups? What do you need to work on? What do you need to focus on to get back here? They communicated that with you?
Yeah, so we definitely have communication. We all kind of have, I guess, like a contact through the coaching staff that we can talk to on, our terms if we have any questions, or if we need help with anything. I think that's the hardest part. I feel like they never give you like specifics of like, you need to work on this and you're going to make it. I think the hardest part is because since we are at such a high level, everyone is so good. And so just continuing to be good at those things, for me as a forward, scoring goals definitely helps my case. But there's girls in front of me, especially on the national team, who have loads of experience, winning World Cups and being in those environments that I cannot offer at the moment. So it's kind of just staying ready and being ready for whenever that chance comes.
It's like one of those jobs where you need experience to get experience type of thing. Like, listen, I can get World Cup experience if you give me World Cup experience. I could do it then.
Exactly.
All right. So we're sort of wrapping up here, but we're getting into playing in games in front of people again. Not a lot of people, but I saw the email go out this week. Segra Field's going to host some people, and then Audi hopefully later on in the year maybe. I gotta assume guys are tired of playing in front of empty stands. I gotta imagine that's got to be pretty exciting, particularly on the back of the fact that like right before this happened, like we're gonna have half our games at Audi Field and half our games at Segra will be at the Plexum. And then they're like, whoop, nope, no fans. We're not going to have any fans at all. No fans. And now you're getting back to it. I got to imagine you guys are pretty pumped.
Oh yeah, we're super excited. I know all of our family members are like itching to come see us. And I mean, I feel bad. My poor husband hasn't seen me play a game in real life in over a year. The one game that we had, some fans, I think like maybe every person had one family member. I wasn't able to play because I was injured. So I know I'm super excited for that opportunity whenever, once it happens to have fans in the stands, because I think it always brings an energy. I think every athlete can tell you that it's super fun being able to play in front of fans and to feel their energy and excitement. So excited is almost the understatement.
I bet it's probably a special skill to get yourself up for a game in an empty stadium. Like I feel like, you know the stakes, right? Like you're being paid. It's a real game. Like you got the jersey on, you're on TV, but you've been playing in front of people now for quite a while. Like, through college, you've been a professional now for a while. Like what was the mindset adjustment for you to get there? And were there conversations about that? Were there sort of like, the team was sort of trying to help pump each other up, or did everyone just say, this is what's expected, let's go out there and we got to do our thing?
I'd say a little bit of both. I mean, I think it was definitely a conversation, within our locker room and among each other that like, it's going to be hard, especially, when you get into overtime or the last 5 minutes of game or important game, that we're going to have to be there for each other. I think for me personally, also something that I had to work on is without fans, you can literally hear everything. So, and you can also, your own thoughts are just like louder, and so when it's on the turf and you're tired and it's hot, it's like, what are you saying to yourself in that moment? Because whatever you're saying to yourself is really loud because you don't have
good point.
That fan noise to kind of drown it out. So I definitely think that was a skill that you either had it or you didn't, or you're working on it. And so I think it was pretty obvious at times, like which players had that, which players didn't. And if players didn't have it, were we able to kind of pull them up and say, hey, it's okay. Like, we can do this and help each other out. So it was definitely.
Where did you place yourself in that? Where did you place yourself in that sort of pantheon? You feel like you had it?
I mean, I feel like I did. I mean, that was one of my, like, I had a really good off season before, the shutdown. I hired a sports psych and I was already kind of practicing these things and working through these things. And so, I mean, it was something I was continually working on, but I knew how to work on it. And I knew, I had this skill set to, create that mindset when I needed it. So I definitely feel like I had it, and it was something that really helped me get through the Challenge Cup with everything going on and without the fans and, the altitude, the heat, the turf. Like you can make so many excuses, I think, during that Challenge Cup. But just being able to dismiss those excuses and focus on other things, I think was really important.
And if your own thoughts were loud, I imagine hearing Richie in an empty stadium was maybe even louder, maybe drowning out your own thoughts possibly. So thank you so much for joining us. You guys I think the Spirit are playing IMG Academy this weekend. I expect another hat trick or 4. We'll see. Good luck on the upcoming season. I think you guys are set up to do great things. Good luck in the Challenge Cup, and then good luck on the regular season. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you.